Hey there, YouTubers. Hey, listen, I'm in the process this year, it's April 2023, of resurfacing my entire wood deck. It has been 5 or 6 years and it is way overdue. But the main point of this video is I want to show you a pretty simple process of how I took these powder coated, what at one time was black and shiny powder coated baluster bars, and I want to show you how I refinished them. You can kind of see the weathering, and these have turned from a shiny black to gray over the last 5 or 6 years. And I want to show you some super simple steps on how to fix this using a pretty cool product I found from Rustoleum. It's called Painter's Touch 2X. It is a clear coat. I'll show you how to use this, how I did it step by step, and I think you're going to have some great results. Stand by. Okay, so I've removed all of the balusters off the deck, and again, to give you some look and feel of what these look like, they've been weathered. They've got bird poop on them. There's green algae-like stuff from the moisture, dust, spider webs, just a little bit of residue that we need to first get this baluster prepped and ready to use the Rustoleum clear coat. And so I'll show you some simple steps of what I did to make that happen. Now, first and foremost, you're probably going to see a lot of YouTube videos that talk about using acid to clean. I thought that was a little bit of overkill, and I actually thought that there might be some concerns of potentially killing the grass or some of the flowers that were around. So I'm going to show you a simple little process that I used. First thing is, I have this simple sponge, and yeah, it's the simple sponge you can get at any department store or grocery store, but on the back, it is one of those that's green. I don't know the actual manufacturer of this sponge, but it does have a little bit of an abrasive texture to it, kind of a coating. You can see one side is yellow and the other side is green. I wouldn't consider this texture as like steel wool. It's nothing that rigid, I guess, if you will, but it does have a little bit of scratch, and I think this will be a great tool for you. It has been for me so far to again get the balusters ready and prepped so you can put the clear coat on them. All right, so what I'm doing here is I have a bucket of water over here you can't see, but it's just simple soap and water, and then all I'm doing is just taking the abrasive piece of the sponge, pretty simple here, and I'm just scratching or scraping the dust, the green stuff, the spider webs, any dirt that's on there. You know, you can usually do this in about 30 seconds, depending on how soiled or tarnished your balusters are. You can see the soap and water. Then once I'm done, the one thing I did is I took a towel, and this is just simply one that I've soaked in the faucet in the house and brought it outside. And I'm using this as my rinse mechanism. And all I'm doing is just wiping off the baluster, and you can already see how shiny it is by just giving it that clear coat of water. But I'm using the towel just to wipe off any soap residue I have on there. Now you're probably thinking, okay, well, why don't you just stick these on the side of your house and get your spigot out from the hose and start spraying all of the soapy stuff off? Well, the reason I didn't do this is because my spigots do not run through my soft water, and of course I don't want to put hard water deposits back on a clean baluster that's ready to be prepped. Now, when I say ready to be prepped, that's really pretty much about it. It is soap and water with my abrasive sponge, wipe it off with a towel, and again, this is a towel that I've used with soft water in the house to wipe off, and it's clean. And then I can just set it up here with my other, what seems like 4 million balusters to do. There's a lot of work here. Wash, rinse, repeat. And then I'll show you the next steps of how we actually get the clear coat on the balusters and what the end result looks like. All right, stay tuned. All right, we're back. So we've got our cleaned balusters with the soap and water. We wiped them down with a fresh towel with soft water only. So now we have one of our grade balusters that are prepped, and they are ready to have the Rustoleum 2X Ultra Cover Satin Clear applied to the balusters, and I'll show you a technique I use to apply that. First, let me say I am not an employee of Rustoleum, nor do I get commissions from Rustoleum, but senior executives from Rustoleum, if you're watching this video and you think I did a good job, feel free to send me a note down below, and I'll give you my home address so you can send me a commission check. Winky, winky. Okay, back to business. So if you read the back of the can, I have a beautiful sunny day here in central Indiana in April. It's about 60 degrees. If you read the instructions, couple main points. One is the can instructs you to shake the can for about 1 minute, and you should be able to hear the ball in there popping around. The other piece is ventilation. This is varnishy stuff, right? So it's not good for your nose and or sucking this through your nasal down into your lungs. I have a pretty breezy day today, so I'm confident that I will be safe. However, if you are in a inside spot where there's little to no airflow, get yourself a mask or a respirator on just to protect yourself. You definitely don't want to inhale this, okay? So I've shaken the can here for about a minute, and now we're ready to start applying. All right, I got the cap off. Now, my balusters, you'll notice here, they have a couple holes on the top, couple holes on the bottom. Your particular item that you're using to finish may have a different setup, but if you notice on here, what I'm trying to alleviate is to placing this thing up against like a cardboard or a plywood, and then applying the paint, then having to let it dry, and then spinning it around, and then doing the other 4 sides. What a pain. So I have this hook, and I'm going to show you a technique that I used when I was a kid. I used to love to paint model cars, and I was always taught when you paint model cars, put it on there thin, super thin. You can always come back and touch up. I do notice on the front here it says that 1 can covers 2x what you should, and I generally believe that. I think this has done a good job, but put it on thin. If not, and I'll show you some of the results if you don't put it on thin, because you're probably going to make some boo-boos. This does take a little bit of practice, but I want to show you how I apply the Rustoleum to my balusters. Now again, I've got a hook, and I'm going to hold the hook up, and now I have the wind coming this direction, so it's blowing in my face. Again, this is for the ventilation purposes, but I've got my sprayer matched up with the black dot on the can. And now I'm going to start applying the clear coat. Now, the technique I used when I was a model car enthusiast, and the same thing I'm going to use here on the bar, is I'm going to start with downward strokes. So each time that I am downward stroking or spraying onto the baluster, I'm actually pressing the spray down. Then once I hit the bottom point of the baluster, I'm actually releasing. Okay, one thing you don't want to do, this drives me crazy, is you see the person that has a spray can in their hand, they shh. Don't do that. Paint like a pro. How you paint like a pro is I've got my baluster held up, and now watch the technique I'm going to use. Nice and thin. See, I'm stroking down, 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 down. And each time I'm stroking down, I'm pressing the button, and at the bottom of the stroke, I'm releasing releasing the button on the spray can. So you see how nice and thin that is? Do it one more time. Nice and thin. Turn it, repeat on the other side. And hopefully in this video, you'll be able to see how it's blackening up. Again, press, 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 press. Spinning it again. Okay, now I have one solid coat of clear coat on my baluster, and I'm going to set this one down to dry. Now, what happens when you get a little crazy and you either get your can too close, or you hold the button down too long and you get too much on your baluster? And if you can see here, I kind of show it in the wind. I kind of deliberately did this one to show you what happens when you get overspray or way too much, or your nozzle from the paint can is way too close to the baluster. you get a lot of runs. So I'm not going to refinish this one, but I am going to, don't tell the neighbors, but I'm going to install it on their side of the house so nobody can see it. Okay, but you can see what happens here. You get too close, or you hold the paint can button down too long, you get a lot of spray here, it clips on, and you'll run into problems like that. Or you did the technique that I did, and you get a nice smooth, and again, this is satin. There is an option to get the gloss version. I just went with satin because I just didn't want it too shiny, but I believe this technique of applying it to the baluster should give you the similar results as if you decided to go with the shiny glossy paint. Okay, so there you go. Now I have a ton of these to do, so I'm gonna let you go. I'm gonna get to work, and I'll come back here in just a minute and I'll show you the final deck with the final finished product. I think it's gonna be pretty awesome. See ya. All right, I'm back. So we're just finishing up the what seems like thousands of balusters to put this clear coat on from Rustoleum, the 2X Ultra Cover. But just finishing up the last balusters, and I'm getting ready to install those. And there's one thing I just noticed, unlike the baluster that I showed you in the previous little section where I got a little too close, held the button down too long on the spray can, and it caused a lot of the clear coat to come out on the bar. You saw the result of all the bubbles and the runs. I actually found a couple bars here that I hope you can see this on the video, but you can see here at the top, it's a little thin. No big deal. You would much rather have this kind of result versus, because these are the ones that are easily fixable, versus you having the glop on it on the part of the video that I showed you earlier. This is much simpler to fix. Again, the key for painting, spray painting, putting on a clear coat, thin to win is the deal. You can't come back and fix a one where you put too much stuff on there. It's just going to glob up and it's going to look awful. But again, I've got my can. I've been shaking it just to get, the stuff inside, and you can see here on the top there's just that little gray section that I just need to do a little bit of repair. And again, we're doing the downward press of the spray can button with the baluster. So it's spray, 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 spray. That way we get a nice thin coat on there again. And even, here, let me set this down a minute. Even if you have a baluster that is, maybe mounted horizontally, then it's spray, 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 spray in rhythm. It takes a little bit of rhythm to get it going. But you can use the same technique if the bar or your particular application is horizontal versus me holding it up in a vertical way, okay? So let's go back to the one I have here on the hook, and you'll notice I've got the gray that is, I didn't quite get enough on there, so I'm gonna use the same technique that I had before, and we give it a real thin shot, spray, okay? And there's a little more here, and a little more here on the bottom. Ah, perfect, nice and shiny. So as your bars dry, again, the thin to win, thinner winner, you can come back and touch up your bars as needed. Got a nice thin coat again, and you're gonna have great results. So we're almost done, and I'll have this deck hopefully done the next 2 or 3 days, and I'll show you the end results. All right, come back in soon. All right, we're back again, and we're on the home stretch. This is day 6. You saw me post the initial video. Coming to completion now. I'm just waiting on the stain to dry a little bit, but it is coming together. But I did want to show you, before I finish the last couple of bars, a little bit of contrast of the difference between a finished balusters with the Rustoleum satin clear on it versus the ones that were untreated. So earlier in the video, I showed you how to apply the spray. And I do have a couple here that are mounted that have been sprayed and not been sprayed. So let me kind of turn around here and I'll show you what I got. But here is, and I still got a little touch up to do on a few of these, but these are the balusters that are treated. And again, don't cuss me out on I got a couple little touch up spots to do, but these are the finished ones to give you a good look. And then flipping over here, here are the unfinished. You see the gray, and I got a little bit of stain splash that I'll need to clean off again before I apply the clear coat from Rustoleum. But again, here is the ones that have been applied. Here are the ones that have not been applied. I'll kind of back up. I'm not sure how you'll be able to see this in the video, but if you can see the glossy black, they look great. Even though this is the satin, not the glossy, just to be clear. And then you can see what the gray ones look like that are unfinished. Anyway, whew, this has been a heck of a project. Oh, one important thing I forgot. You're gonna ask how many cans of the Rustoleum satin clear coat did I actually use? Well, I just counted. I have 188 balusters, and you know the balusters are probably a ½ inch, but they're a square. But 188 of them. It took me 7 cans of the Rustoleum 2X satin clear to cover 188 balusters. The balusters are 31 inches long from tip to tip. Beg your pardon. They're 32 inches long from tip to tip. And again, about a ½ inch. So figure that into your plan, but it took me 7 cans, 188 of them. They're about 32 inches from tip to tip. That includes the 7 cans also included any touch-up work that I need to do. And you saw I have a couple over here that I do need to kind of spray up a little bit and make them look a little nicer. But overall, I'm very pleased with what the satin clear did. I think you'll have great results as well. So good luck on your project. It's summertime.